It's Pure Sports with Geoff Bloom on the Valley Sports Theater. I am the Dome along with Austin, 760-440-82. I'm sorry, why am I going to stop doing that, Austin? Yeah. Yell at me. That's the old text number. Sorry, let me do that again. 802-465-1027. Guys, I apologize. That's 9 years of saying the same phone number. And this week we got a new text line, 802-465-1027. So sometimes you just got to keep pounding that out of my head, and it's just in there still. So I apologize. Well, it is Friday. It is 3:30. It is time to catch up with the Walter Clark Legal Group.
The Walter Clark Ask the Expert on Pure Sports is brought to you by The Sevens. Call The Sevens if you've been hit and hurt and get help from a board-certified expert at the Walter Clark Legal Group. Call the top-rated firm that performs. The Walter Clark Legal Group.
And Lawrence Presley joins us now. He's an attorney with the Walter Clark Legal Group. Welcome back. Happy Friday. I always say to people, we say it to our listeners, Lawrence, and I like to say it to our guests, happy Friday. Congrats. You've made it to a finish line. And I don't know if Sabatino's is in your future tonight or tomorrow, but we encourage people to enjoy Sabatino's and take a load off. Just enjoy your Friday night, you know?
I certainly will. Thank you. I'm very grateful to be here. I know last time we kind of left on that note with
right.
Sabatino's.
That you're a regular. If you missed Lawrence last week, Lawrence is a regular at Sabatino's Pizza, Pasta, and Wings, and I kind of threw Austin under the bus to have fun, just saying, Austin, you recognize this guy?
Yep.
And Austin got a little nervous, but it's all good now. And we told you about a new pizza you should try, the Firebird at Sabatino's, and you said you like a little spice, so that might be something next time you go. You could try that.
I'll definitely try that. That did sound delicious.
Yep, give that a shot. Well, it took all of 1 week of you guys being on the show, and we have players that had got in trouble with the law this week. Things did not go great for Tyreek Hill. Let's start there. Making his way to the stadium for the first game of the year, and I get out of church, Lawrence, and I start seeing what's going on Twitter. It's just kind of my routine that I get in, and there was a lot going on. Dak Prescott signed his contract, and then this Tyreek thing, and you see Tyreek pulled out of the car by the police on the ground and handcuffed, and I'm just thinking, what in the world did he do? I'll let you take it from there, but certainly there's a lot going on there as this whole week has gone on about what Tyreek maybe did or what he did do and how he treated the police. There's a lot going on there.
Right, and you just captured it right there, talking about those two separate interests, those interests being one, public safety, and weighing that against our personal freedom, individual freedoms, and the restraint on those freedoms. So Tyreek Hill is traveling 60 miles per hour in a 40 mile per hour zone when he's pulled over in what appears to be just a normal traffic stop. It ends up being him detained, right?
Yep.
And it does create a lot of issues. Some similarities I was thinking about with Scotty Scheffler, right? And some of his
great call.
issues as well. He's on his way to the PGA Championship and gets also pulled over as well, but also during a violation, right, of the law. What really did trigger, what appeared to trigger the detainment was the refusal to roll down the window while the officer was asking him to do so.
So just to be clear, the window went down, but it went right back up, and the police officers were knocking on the window to roll it down, and Tyreek was not quick to comply.
Correct. Yeah, he was not quick to comply. And again, these officers, that interest for them is protecting the public. So any type of risk of harm or safety to the public, such as speeding at 60 miles per hour in a 40 per mile zone, certainly does place the public at risk enough for him to stop. But then when there's this situation where the individual that's just being detained to issue a ticket is frustrating or obstructing this process or allowing the officer to conduct his duties, it does trigger an additional level of attention by the officers to certainly conduct their duties fully, and that's what we saw here. It's really unfortunate of events that happened following that.
And I don't know when you watched the video. I'm sure you've watched it all in preparation for this segment today. Just watching it, when the first time you laid eyes on it, were you surprised at how quickly it escalated, or being the attorney that you are, Tyreek puts the window up, did you think, we're going to have a problem here any second?
To me, it seems pretty simple. Just roll your window down if the officer asks you to do so. However, the questions and issues here, they're fact-intensive, case-by-case situations, and whether or not the force was too much or not in restraining that freedom. They're difficult questions. There's a lot of gray area there. I personally, in cases such as Tyreek Hill and Scotty Scheffler, just wish they would slow down and follow the rules of the road, right? And they could absolutely avoid the situation altogether.
So Tyreek Hill gets detained and obviously was let go in time to get to the game, had a big game. The Dolphins rallied to win, beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. But as we got through that day and got to Monday and into Tuesday, a lot of the talk was about the camera on the officer's vest, and we wanted to see that. And when that came out, more information was divulged. In a court case, or in this case, how does that work in terms of evidence? Is that a big piece to a case in terms of, well, however it goes, is that video very important to have?
It depends what's on the video. And so, you have the testimony from defendant, testimony from the plaintiff, or in that case, prosecution, and then you're weighing the evidence and, again, coming up to a conclusion. The body cam certainly is going to be important because it captures the live, actions, procedures that were taken in that moment. So certainly a substantial piece of evidence that would be important.
If this had been in California compared to Florida, just in terms of laws from Florida to California, would it have been handled similarly, or are there differences?
Right. So for the most part, like speeding laws, for example, in Florida, written very similar to the statute here in California, California Vehicle Code 22350. I see this one almost every single day. And what it says is no person should operate a vehicle in a manner that would endanger persons or property. And so that was a reason, obviously, for the pull, the traffic stop. And then when it comes to the detainment situation, if there is any type of conduct from one who is stopped at is stopped in this case, then the officer, when the other person is not necessarily cooperating or accommodating whatever it is they're asking, must have to take additional measures in order to facilitate his duties.
Interesting. Again, he is Lawrence Presley. He's an attorney with the Walter Clark Legal Group. Joins us each week for the Ask the Expert segment, sponsored by the Sevens. Calais Campbell was nearby, pulled over, saw his buddy on the ground, handcuffed. Officers, and if I get this wrong, please correct me, but from what I remember, get in your car, move your car. Do not keep your car there. Calais didn't really listen to what they were asking. Next thing you know, they're asking for his ID. This route is right on their way to the stadium. They were making their way to the stadium. Your thoughts on his role, not really listening to the officers either, and then and not much came out of that, but in the moment, now that started to escalate with officers starting to ask for his driver's license because he did not get in the car and move it. They wanted him to keep moving.
Right. And the optics of that situation, too, passerby comes by, gets out, and now they're detained. Optics don't reflect, too great of a situation. However, again, we're balancing these interests of public safety and then one's restraint on freedom. And when you have a defensive tackle,
big dude,
big guy, it's going to take probably 2 or 3 officers if he was to act out of line. My guess, can only put myself in their shoes, and you have to make decisions in the split moment, is let's get him separated from Tyreek and just get the situation under control so they can conduct everything safely and whatever they need to process.
Do you expect to hear from the NFL on this, just because there have been other situations? Do you expect them to in any way come out and support their players or just take any kind of stance, or do you think from a legal standpoint it's best for them to just stay out of it?
It just based on what we've seen and how it appears to be tailing off here, it doesn't look like the NFL is going to take any action, or at least they haven't said any
nothing yet.
So
right.
Yeah, and usually the action that we will see them take is if there's any type of violent crimes or crimes of moral turpitude, like fraud and things of that nature, where you will see them get involved. But here, none of those exist.
And then for Tyreek, is this, in your opinion, is this kind of, I don't like, water on the bridge feels too loose of a term, but is this behind him, or do you believe that this is not yet behind him, that there will be some other steps based on the fact and how he was detained and how he feels he was treated and then how the officers felt he treated them? Do you think there's going to be other chapters to this story?
Potentially. I know there were some mentions of them his attorneys maybe threatening, suit or taking it under their investigation to determine whether or not they'd file. But it's speculation totally whether or not they would do so. And at this point, since we haven't seen anything or at least heard any more in addition to that, because I think it was the initial conclusions by his attorney about a day or so after, likely if it was to bet on it, probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and we're not going to use anybody's names, but you just think it's Tyreek Hill. He has all the resources in the world. He has an agent. He has a lawyer. I mean, everything. And you just think, like, if somebody that isn't Tyreek Hill and have that platform, and acts that way towards an officer, what the ramifications could be. My guess is they're not let go within a short period of time and on their way with the rest of their day. I mean, the moral of this whole story that you keep saying is you got to treat the officers with respect and just do what you're told.
Well, certainly. And then also, again, in the idea that we see this now twice, both with Scheffler and with Tyreek Hill, there seems to be something we all got to work on here as a, country and getting these types of detainment stops figured out, and I think that's kind of the key there in understanding what both sides are and what those interests are. So again, and it's unfortunate for both sides, for the police officers, for the NFL, for Tyreek, because he is somebody who has all the power in the world, stardom in the world to have a positive influence on society and fans. So I mean, even down to the Super Bowl, his touchdown celebration, right, where he some people would find it entertaining, where I see people injured or even die from speeding and in those type of actions. So to make light of something like that, it may not be the best way to, you don't want to place focus on something like this. And I would have rather seen, say, who is it? Julio Jones do like the Dirty Bird, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. That was good.
When I was thinking about that, I was like, I would rather, see Julio throw the Dirty Bird instead of that maneuver. But
I was just going to say, in the video, like, his first call is to his agent. Yeah. He's on the ground and he's calling Drew Rosenhaus, who's the biggest agent in football.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson, it has been a very challenging few years from him. I like to be very, very careful with how we talk about this situation. Innocent till proven guilty. All that is very important to me on this show. But he obviously has had a lot of off-the-field challenges, and now he has another lawsuit come at him. I guess the plaintiff her and her lawyer are going to be meeting with the NFL in the next couple of weeks. What we do know is we're all watching a Deshaun Watson that does not look like the guy that was the hero in Houston and could help his team win football games. He looks like a guy who's barely played any football and got a lot of criticism for how he played against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 1. Now this new allegation is out there this week. More speculation of what could or could not happen. Obviously, this has been going on long before, Lawrence, you guys started joining the show here. But obviously, and it's a difficult topic to talk about, but your thoughts on where this could lead us with Deshaun, and do you think, due to the situation, due to the past, that it might be a situation that that the NFL does have to step in and suspend him, or what do you think we could see here over the next, I don't know, month to 2 months?
I think we could see a process very similar to what we saw, begin back in March of 2021 here. The allegations that were just filed strike a lot of similarities to those that came along in 2021. And the process for the NFL will likely be the same when it does come to this type of disciplinary conduct. But the NFL, I believe, they haven't put him on the CFL, the exemption list yet, and again, just to conduct that investigation and not innocent until proven guilty.
Right. So it's,
their PR said, we are reviewing the complaint and we will look into the matter under the personal conduct policy. That's official NFL PR.
And they're being very careful what they say. It's obviously anytime there's any kind of sexual abuse or anything like that going on, you've just got to be very careful. And I try to do that. We're very fortunate to have these microphones in front of our face, and I don't know. I wasn't there, and until we know what's going on, this is the way I think it's best for us to do it. But at the end of the day, it is very concerning. I would just say this, Lawrence. We see a pattern.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, if there's one thing we can comment on here, is there is a pattern, and it's a very concerning pattern from Deshaun Watson.
Right, and again, they say when there's smoke, there's fire. But again, even if there is a pattern there, you have to take them as innocent until proven guilty. The NFL and the collective bargaining agreement that they have a pretty nice process in regards to giving those that benefit of the doubt and giving a fair investigation into the matter before making any type of disciplinary action. So, and Article 46 of the NFL collective bargaining agreement really does lay that out and requires some type of investigation looking at what those facts are before any type of action from the commissioner occurs, where he gives them the notice and then moves into that process.
All right, this is the Walter Clark Legal Group Ask the Experts segment, sponsored by the Sevens. We'll take a quick break, come back, we'll have another segment with Lawrence Presley, an attorney with the Walter Clark Legal Group. If you have any questions for Lawrence and you'd like to chime in, you can do that at 802-465-1027. It's Pure Sports with Geoff Bloom on the Valley Sports Leader, 102.7, The Fanatic. It's Pure Sports with Geoff Bloom on the Valley Sports Leader. I am the Dome along with Austin. We have another segment with Lawrence Presley. He's an attorney with the Walter Clark Legal Group. And Lawrence, during the commercial break, you and I were talking about another Georgia Bulldog speeding at a high rate of speed, 106 miles an hour for Daniel Harris. He's a sophomore cornerback, and this brings the total to 20 arrests or citations for Georgia players that involve driving-related violations, including DUI, speeding, and reckless driving. There was an incident where somebody lost their life with players were racing. I mean, people are shaking their head at what is going on at Georgia University with this football program. Number one team in the program, in the country. And I'm wondering when the day's going to come when Kirby Smart, the head coach at Georgia, says enough and no more cars for my players. You can Uber or walk. I mean, I don't mean it to sound that simple, but it is just unbelievable how many players have gotten in trouble and speeding like these guys are.
It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. And speeding is such a serious violation, when it does come to driving. And according to National Highway Traffic Safety, I believe it's 71% of deaths and substantial injuries in collision are attributed to speeding. And I was thinking in the regards to perception response and stop time with the Tyreek Hill matter, there's certain very established data that would show from 40 miles per hour if you're driving at 40 miles per hour, your stop time or stop distance is, say, 120 meters compared to if you're traveling at 60 miles per hour, it's 240 meters.
Big difference.
Yeah, and so it's a big difference. It's double the distance there, and it gives you less time to react to any type of obstruction in front of you. So while they're just getting ticketed for reckless driving and speeding, it's just a matter of time before, again, somebody gets hurt. They could end their careers, and we see it every day at Walter Clark.
And it's like, why? It's like, why? Right. This guy's driving, he's a sophomore, and maybe he has NIL money, but he's driving a 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Right.
I mean, come on, And the other thing that Austin and I talk a lot, I hope I'm not throwing you a curveball, I love living here. I've lived in this town for 15 years. I think it is a beautiful community. I feel we're a big part of it, and I love it.
It's peaceful.
Yeah, it's peaceful. I've lived from Connecticut to here and multiple places in between. I have never lived in a place that I've seen more people run red lights than I do in the Coachella Valley. I see it all the time. That when we leave to go out back to cook, I see people just blow through, and I always ask myself, I hope wherever you're going, it justifies blowing a red light. And I just think it is so dangerous, and I hate to see that. Speeding, running red lights, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, every day at Walter Clark Legal Group, those that are injured, a large proportion of those are victims of speeding, running red lights, and we have I-10 as well as 111
Yes.
parallel this valley. It's those two roads. It seems rather simple. You could just stay in your car, go one direction, stop. People will just run red lights, and I've seen that, and it's so dangerous. Even if you don't see anybody crossing the intersection, it is so dangerous. So
Yeah, it really is. And so again, we see these patterns with these athletes. Hopefully, we don't see it. Hopefully, we start to have these conversations, especially with these athletes, explaining to them, why they shouldn't be doing it. But at Georgia, I am just shaking my head, Austin. I cannot believe another. I'd love to know what the message is at team meetings.
Yeah.
What are they?
Don't drive.
Yeah,
at
I don't
all?
know. What are they not saying that the kid goes, maybe I shouldn't be doing this in my 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee right now? I don't know. It's crazy. We only got about a minute left, minute and a half. You got another weekend, college football, NFL. Did you enjoy the first week of the NFL?
the first week of the NFL was fantastic. The Niners
Who's your
game,
team? The
49ers,
so you're
right.
happy.
Yeah, I mean, very happy. Particularly, we have McCaffrey out, so came through.
Yep.
Jordan Mason helped us out quite.
What'd you think of Mason?
I thought he was fantastic. The Shanahan offense was clicking. They looked clean. It looked really good. Deebo Samuel seemed better, a lot better than where we saw him near the end of the the playoffs and the championship last year. So I'm really looking forward to the rematch between them and the Lions too.
That's coming up
in the future. I
in the
think their
future.
next game
You got the Vikings this week. You guys are going
this
to
week.
Minnesota. You got to take on Sam Darnold, who had a good week. But I just, for me, watching the Niners, I just feel like there was no letdown from a team that went to the Super Bowl last year. I still think they are the elite. They are in the elite class of the NFC, and
Shanahan makes every running back and quarterback look good in his system.
Yeah, his offense is essentially set up to do so. Yeah.
Right. So this should be an interesting game with Minnesota. We're going to pick it here in a little bit. I'll let you know I'm picking your Niners to win. So I hope they don't let them down. Now, Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, any pregame thing you like to get ready for? A good breakfast, get a run in, a quick workout. What does that morning look like before kickoff for you, Lawrence?
Yeah, for me, it's waking up in the morning and actually going for a run, quick run, and doing it
Get
early
your nerves down
before the heat comes in. Still feeling that this summer. So. And then relaxing, taking the day to relax.
Yep, should be fun. Again, they play at 10 o'clock. And Austin's a Packer fan, so no Jordan Love right now.
We're hurting. I've also never run prior to kickoff on Sunday.
Maybe you should try it. Maybe you should run with Lawrence. And you can talk about your pizza. All right, Lawrence, have a good week. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, hour one in the books. Hour two coming up, and we'll make our pick six selections next. Stay with us. Be right back.